The message appeared on every screen across Earth at exactly 3:00 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Admiral James Walker stood in the Earth Defense Force Command Center, his weathered face illuminated by the strange purple text floating in the air. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. By order of the Galactic Council, Earth is hereby declared a quarantine zone. The message stated in perfect English, "Your species has been deemed too violent and unstable for integration into galactic society." This is not a negotiation. Walker's fingers tightened around his coffee cup as he watched massive alien ships materialize in Earth's orbit through the command center's main viewport. They looked like giant silver leaves, each one larger than the biggest aircraft carrier ever built. "Sir," Lieutenant Tom Baker called out, his voice shaking slightly. "We're detecting energy barriers forming between their ships. They're creating a blockade network around Earth." Walker set down his cup and straightened his uniform. Around him, the command center buzzed with activity as officers rushed between stations, monitoring the alien ship's every move. The entire Earth Defense Force had been put on high alert, but their orders were clear: do not engage. "Get me the president," Walker commanded, his deep voice steady despite the chaos around him. The large screen at the front of the command center flickered to life, showing the grim face of President Howard. "Admiral, I assume you're seeing this?" the president asked, his usual confident demeanor replaced by obvious concern. "Yes, sir. They've positioned 12 ships in low Earth orbit. Based on our initial scans, each one carries enough firepower to level a continent. They're creating some kind of energy net around the planet." The president rubbed his temples. The Chinese, Russians, and European Union have all reported the same message. This isn't a hoax or a drill. This is humanity's first contact with alien life, and they're treating us like a disease that needs to be contained. Walker watched as another alien ship moved into position. Their movements were precise, calculated. This wasn't a hasty operation. They had planned this carefully. "Mr. President," Walker said, choosing his words carefully, "request permission to power up our orbital defense platforms. Not to engage, but as a precautionary measure." Denied. "Admiral," the president's response was immediate. "We can't risk appearing hostile. Those ships could wipe out our entire civilization before we could blink. For now, we observe and gather information." As if responding to their conversation, another message appeared across all screens. "Any attempt to breach the quarantine barrier will be met with immediate defensive action. All existing space missions must return to Earth immediately. Further space exploration is forbidden until your species proves itself worthy of galactic society." The command center fell silent. Decades of human achievement in space exploration, all the dreams of colonizing Mars and reaching for the stars, wiped away in a single moment. Lieutenant Baker's console started beeping rapidly. "Sir, the International Space Station. They're moving it. The alien ships are generating some kind of tractor beam, forcing it into re-entry." Walker and everyone else watched in stunned silence as the ISS, humanity's foothold in space for over 2 decades, was carefully but firmly pulled back to Earth. The alien ships guided its descent, ensuring it wouldn't burn up in the atmosphere. "They're not destroying it," Walker muttered, his tactical mind already analyzing the situation. "They could vaporize it, but they're taking the time to bring it down safely. They want to contain us, not destroy us." The president's voice cut through his thoughts. "Admiral, I'm calling an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. I need your preliminary assessment in 1 hour. What are we dealing with?" Walker looked at the alien ships again, their silver surfaces reflecting Earth's sunlight. "Sir, we're dealing with a species that has the power to crush us but chooses not to. They see us as primitive and dangerous, but not enough to warrant elimination. That means they either have some use for us, or," he paused, a thought forming, "or what, Admiral? Or they're afraid of what we might become." The president nodded slowly. Keep monitoring the situation. Report any changes immediately. Howard out. As the screen went dark, Walker turned to his staff. I want every sensor we have pointed at those ships. Record everything. If they sneeze, I want to know about it. He walked to the window, watching the alien blockade take shape around his planet. They might be trapped, but Walker knew humanity well enough to know one thing. People don't like being caged. And sooner or later, every cage has a weak point. They just had to be patient enough to find it. Captain Lisa Reed walked through the dark hallways of the underground research facility, her footsteps echoing against metal walls. 3 months had passed since the alien blockade began, and she had spent every day studying the data they collected from the Council ships. Today was different. Today, she had found something. The main research lab was buzzing with activity when she entered. Scientists huddled around computers, analyzing readings from their new sensor arrays. But Lisa walked past them all, heading straight for Admiral Walker's office. "Sir," she said, entering after his gruff "come in." She placed a tablet on his desk. "You need to see this." Walker looked up from his paperwork, dark circles under his eyes showing the strain of recent months. "What am I looking at, Captain?" "Proof that the Council is lying to us." Lisa tapped the tablet, bringing up a series of energy readings. "We've been monitoring their communications, trying to break their codes. Last night, we succeeded." Walker sat up straighter. "Go on." "They're not quarantining us because we're violent." Lisa's voice grew harder. "They're containing us because we're advancing too quickly. Look at this message we intercepted." The tablet displayed a translated alien communication. Human technological progression has exceeded all models. At current rates, they will achieve Class 3 civilization status within 50 years. Containment is essential for maintaining Council authority in this sector. Walker read the message twice. "They're afraid of our progress." "There's more." Lisa brought up another screen. "We found their historical database. Earth isn't the first world they've done this to. They've been containing or destroying any species that shows rapid advancement. But here's the interesting part. We're the first ones they couldn't simply destroy." "What do you mean?" Lisa smiled grimly. "According to their own records, our technology is already too close to theirs in some areas. They feared a direct conflict might result in mutual destruction, so they chose containment instead." Walker stood and walked to his office window, looking at the massive underground chamber beyond. Dozens of engineers worked on new vehicles and weapons, combining human innovation with what they'd learned from studying the Council's technology. "Sir," Lisa continued, "there's something else. The Council ships aren't just maintaining a blockade. They're mining our asteroid belt, stealing our resources. They're not protecting the galaxy from us. They're stealing from us while we're trapped down here." Walker's fists clenched. "Do we have proof?" "Better than that." Lisa handed him another tablet. "We have their mining schedules, their fleet movements, everything. They're so confident in their superiority that their security is focused on keeping us in, not keeping their communications secure." "Have you told anyone else about this?" "No, sir. Came straight to you." Walker nodded slowly, a plan forming in his mind. "Keep this quiet for now. But get me everything you can about their mining operations, their ship rotations, their communication protocols. Everything." "Already on it, sir." Lisa paused. "There's one more thing. Their ships, they're not as advanced as they want us to think. Most of their technology is old, established. They haven't made any major advances in centuries. They'd gotten comfortable." Walker turned back to face her, a slight smile on his face. "And we make them uncomfortable, don't we? A young species that keeps changing, keeps adapting. No wonder they wanted to put us in a box." "What are we going to do, sir?" Walker picked up his phone. "First, I'm calling the president. Then we're going to show the Council why it's dangerous to cage something that's still evolving." He looked at Lisa. "How's Project Dark Shield coming along?" "The prototype is ready, sir. Complete sensor invisibility. They'll never see us coming. Good. Walker's smile grew harder. Keep monitoring their communications. I want to know everything. Their weaknesses, their fears, their blind spots. They think they've trapped us. Let's show them how humanity deals with traps. Lisa saluted and turned to leave, but Walker's voice stopped her. And Captain, good work. Earth may be in a cage, but thanks to you, we now know exactly what kind of bars we're dealing with. As Lisa left his office, Walker looked again at the mining schedules she'd discovered. The Council had made 3 critical mistakes. They'd underestimated human ingenuity, they'd gotten careless with their security, and most importantly, they'd given humanity a reason to unite against a common enemy. Now all that remained was to show them just how dangerous a united Earth could be. 6 months into the blockade, Earth had changed. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in what used to be an old missile silo, Admiral Walker watched humanity's revenge take shape. Status report, he commanded, walking through the massive underground hangar. Around him, engineers and scientists worked on sleek black ships that seemed to swallow light itself. Director Thompson, head of the Dark Tech program, fell into step beside him. Her gray hair was tied back tightly, her eyes bright with excitement. The dark matter coding is working perfectly, sir. When we power up the shields, these ships completely vanish from all known detection methods. They stopped in front of the largest vessel, its hull gleaming like wet ink. The name Ghost was painted in subtle gray letters across its bow. And the weapons? Walker asked. Better than we hoped. Thompson pulled up a holographic display. We've reversed engineered their energy weapons, but with a twist. Our scientists found a way to modify the frequency. The Council's shields won't stop them. Walker nodded, watching his crews loaded equipment into the Ghost. What the Council didn't know was that every nation on Earth had been working together, pooling their resources and knowledge. Chinese quantum computers worked alongside American AI systems. Russian weapons specialists collaborated with European energy experts. The entire planet had united in secret. Sir, a young technician ran up, holding a tablet. We've just intercepted new Council communications. They're celebrating their 1,000th successful mining operation in our asteroid belt. Walker's jaw tightened. They're getting bolder. How many ships in their mining fleet now? 20, sir. They think we can't detect them past the blockade. Thompson smiled. They still believe their sensors are superior to ours. They haven't realized we cracked their technology months ago. Walker walked to a viewing window overlooking another hangar level. Below, rows of smaller fighter craft sat ready. Each one was equipped with the same dark tech that made them invisible to Council sensors. Earth had built an entire Ghost fleet right under their watchers' noses. Time for a field test, Walker announced. Prepare the Ghost for a stealth run. I want to see how close we can get to their mining operation without being detected. Sir, Thompson said carefully, the Ghost is ready for more than just reconnaissance. We could. Walker held up his hand. Not yet. We only get one chance at surprising them. We need to know everything works perfectly. Alerts suddenly blared through the facility. Captain Reed's voice came over the speakers. Admiral to the command center immediately. Minutes later, Walker stood watching the main screen. It showed a Council ship approaching Earth, larger than any they'd seen before. High command vessel, Reed explained. They're doing an inspection of the blockade. And sir, we intercepted their internal communications. They're discussing expanding the quarantine zone, pushing their blockade all the way to Mars. Walker watched the massive ship move into position. They want to box us in even further. He turned to Thompson. How many ships are ready? 6 capital ships, including the Ghost, and 40 fighters, all equipped with dark tech and modified weapons. Walker was quiet for a moment, thinking. Around him, the command center crew waited tensely. Continue preparations, he finally said, but no test run. I want every ship ready for combat in 2 weeks. If they're planning to tighten the noose, we need to be ready to strike first. 2 weeks? Thompson asked, surprised. We planned for 3 months of testing. Plans change. Walker pointed at the high command ship on the screen. That ship is here to plan our permanent imprisonment. I won't give them the chance. He turned to address the entire command center. For 6 months, we've watched them steal our resources. For 6 months, they've treated us like animals in a zoo. For 6 months, we've prepared in silence. His voice grew harder. In 2 weeks, we show them exactly what humanity does to those who try to cage us. As the crew rushed to carry out their orders, Walker looked again at the council ships in orbit. They were up there, feeling safe and superior, never suspecting that their perfect trap was about to become their worst nightmare. Humanity had been patient. They had learned, adapted, and prepared. Now it was time to show the Council why you should never underestimate a species that had spent its entire history overcoming impossible odds. The countdown to Earth's revenge had begun. Operation Ghost began at midnight GMT. In the command center, Admiral Walker stood watching 6 screens showing different sectors of space around Earth. The Council's blockade ships hung in orbit, their silver hulls gleaming in the sunlight. All ships report ready, Captain Reed announced. Dark tech systems are active. Walker took a deep breath. Send the code word. Reed pressed a button on her console. One word flashed across all communication channels. Freedom. In that instant, Earth's Ghost Fleet powered up. 6 massive black warships and 40 fighters simply appeared in space, as if they had materialized from nothing. They had been there all along, hidden by the dark tech shields, waiting for this moment. The Council ships didn't react at first. Their sensors, designed to detect any form of engine power or energy signature, had been completely blind to Earth's vessels. Ghost Fleet, you have permission to engage, Walker commanded. Remember your targets. Disable, don't destroy. Commander Stone's voice crackled over the radio from the lead ship. Copy that. Ghost Fleet moving to attack positions. The black ships moved with incredible speed. Before the Council vessels could raise their shields, Earth's fighters were already among them, firing modified energy weapons that cut through their defenses like paper. Sir, Reed called out. Council ships are trying to send distress signals. Walker nodded. Just as we expected. Activate the jammers. All communication from the Council ships suddenly stopped. Earth's tech teams had spent months studying their transmission frequencies. Now those same frequencies were being blocked, leaving the Council ships isolated and confused. On the main screen, Walker watched as the Ghost itself approached the largest Council vessel. The black ship looked tiny next to the massive alien craft, but size didn't matter. When the Ghost fired its main weapons, the Council ship's shields flickered and died. First target disabled, Stone reported, moving to second target. Around Earth's orbit, the scene repeated itself. Council ships, caught completely by surprise, found themselves powerless as their shields failed, and their weapons had no effect on the Ghost ships. Mining fleet is attempting to flee, Reed reported, watching another screen. They're breaking formation. Let them run, Walker ordered. They'll spread the word about what happened here. That's part of the plan. Within 30 minutes, it was over. 20 Council ships floated dead in space, their power systems knocked out by Earth's weapons. The mining fleet had disappeared into deep space, carrying news of their defeat. Casualty report, Walker demanded. Reed checked her screens. No losses on our side, sir. Minimal damage to 3 fighters. Council ships are disabled, but their crews are alive. We followed the plan exactly. No deaths. Walker allowed himself a small smile. They had proven their point without taking a single life. That would send an even stronger message to the Council. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. I want our teams boarding those ships in 10 minutes. Download everything from their computers. I want to know every secret they've been keeping from us. As Earth's boarding parties moved toward the disabled ships, Walker opened a channel to all Earth's forces. This is Admiral Walker. Phase 1 is complete. The Council thought they had us trapped and helpless. They thought they could steal our resources while keeping us locked in a cage. Today, we proved them wrong." He paused, watching as teams in black spacesuits began cutting their way into the Council vessels. But this was just the beginning. Soon, the Council will learn that humanity isn't just another species they can bully and contain. We're not violent savages, as they claimed. We're not a threat to galactic peace. We're simply a species that refuses to be imprisoned. Captain Reed approached with a tablet. "Sir, first reports from the boarding teams. They've found something interesting in the Council ship's logs. Something about Earth not being the first world they've tried to contain." Walker took the tablet, his expression hardening as he read. "Get this to analysis immediately. Looks like the Council has more secrets we need to expose." As his crew carried out their orders, Walker looked at the disabled Council ships. They had won their first battle, but he knew this was just the beginning. The real war wouldn't be fought with weapons, but with the truth they were about to uncover. The Council was about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate a species that has spent its entire existence breaking free of limitations. The Grand Council chamber was in complete chaos. Representatives from 100 alien species shouted and argued, their voices echoing off the massive crystal walls. At the center of the chamber, High Counselor Vor, a tall being with silvery skin, tried to maintain order. "Silence." Vor's voice boomed through the chamber. "We must discuss this crisis with dignity." On the massive screens surrounding the chamber, images from Earth played on repeat. Council ships floating powerless in space, their crews being peacefully detained, their secrets being exposed. The humans had managed to record everything. A small green-skinned representative stood up. "How is this possible? You told us humans were primitive. You said they were contained." Vor's silver skin darkened with stress. "We underestimated their technological progress." "Underestimated." Another counselor laughed bitterly. "They defeated our best ships without killing a single crew member. They made our weapons useless. They made our shields worthless." The chamber erupted in shouts again. More images appeared on the screens. Documentation found in the captured ships, proving years of Council corruption. Evidence of other worlds that had been unfairly contained or destroyed. Proof of resources stolen not just from Earth, but from dozens of developing worlds. "The humans are broadcasting this information across all galactic frequencies," a communications officer reported. "Every species in the galaxy can see what we've done." Vor slumped in his chair. The Council's carefully maintained image of benevolent leadership was crumbling before his eyes. Suddenly, all screens in the chamber changed. Admiral Walker's face appeared, calm and serious. "Greetings, Council members," he said. "I apologize for interrupting your meeting, but we have something important to discuss." "How dare you?" Vor stood up. "This chamber is for Council members only." "Yes, about that." Walker's expression didn't change. "We found interesting files in your ship's computers. Files about how you choose who gets to join your council. How you keep developing worlds from advancing too quickly. How you steal their resources while pretending to protect the galaxy from them." The chamber went silent. On other screens, more evidence appeared. Secret records, private communications, hidden financial transactions. "Humanity was never violent," Walker continued. "We were just too successful, too adaptive. Like many species before us, we threatened your power simply by existing. But unlike those other species, we found a way to fight back." A small counselor with purple fur stood up. "The humans speak truth. My world was also contained 3 centuries ago. We only gained council membership by agreeing to limit our technology." More counselors began standing, sharing similar stories. The council's oldest secret was finally exposed. They didn't protect galactic peace. They protected their own power by stopping other species from advancing. "We're not here for revenge," Walker said, his voice firm. "We're here for justice, not just for Earth, but for every world you've kept down, every species you've contained, every civilization you've stunted. Vor tried one last time to regain control. You don't understand. Without control, without order. Without control, species grow. Walker interrupted. They advance. They innovate. That's not chaos, High Counselor. That's evolution. The screen switched to show Earth's Ghost Fleet, now positioned around key Council military bases across the galaxy. They had launched their entire fleet during the confusion, using their dark tech to spread undetected through Council space. We could destroy your power right now, Walker said. But that's not our way. Instead, we offer a choice. Step down. Let's build a new council. One that helps worlds grow instead of containing them. One that shares knowledge instead of hoarding it. More counselors were standing now, moving away from Vor and the old leadership. The change they had feared for so long was happening, and they couldn't stop it. You have 1 hour to decide. Walker finished. Choose wisely. As the transmission ended, the council chamber erupted in discussion again. But this time, it wasn't chaos. It was the sound of change, the sound of a new order being born. Vor watched helplessly as his power slipped away. Humanity hadn't just broken free from their cage. They had broken the entire system that built the cages. And they had done it without firing a single fatal shot. The negotiations took place on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Jupiter. Admiral Walker sat at one end of a long table made of polished black metal. Across from him sat representatives from 30 different council worlds, including former High Counselor Vor, now stripped of his power. Captain Reed stood behind Walker, holding a tablet displaying evidence they had gathered from the captured ships. Director Thompson sat to his left, ready to explain Earth's technological achievements. Let's begin, Walker said, his voice calm but firm. We've all seen the evidence. The question is, what happens next? A blue-skinned representative leaned forward. You have us at your mercy. Admiral, your ships surround our major worlds. Why negotiate at all? Walker smiled slightly, because that's not who we are. Humanity doesn't want to rule through fear. That was your way. We want something better. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a new structure of galactic governance, with all species having equal representation. Our proposal is simple, Walker continued. No more containment of developing worlds. No more stealing resources. No more artificial limits on technological progress. Vor spoke up, his silver skin dull with stress. You don't understand. Without controls, without limits. Without limits, Thompson interrupted. We achieve amazing things. She stood up and activated another hologram, showing Earth's dark tech designs. Look at what we created when you tried to cage us. Imagine what we could all create if we worked together instead. The alien representatives studied the technical displays with obvious amazement. Earth's technology had surpassed their understanding in just a few months of development. But how can we trust each other? Another representative asked. How can we be sure new technologies won't be used for war? Captain Reed stepped forward. That's why we're proposing the Knowledge Exchange Program. She brought up new images on the hologram. Every world shares their advances. Every species benefits from collective progress. Complete transparency. And if we refuse? Vor asked quietly. Walker looked at him steadily. We've already broadcast the truth to every world in Council space. Your people know what you did. The choice isn't ours to make anymore. It's theirs. As if on cue, reports started coming in from across the galaxy. Council worlds were rising up, demanding change. Species that had been contained for centuries were breaking free. The old order was collapsing. We don't want to rule, Walker said firmly. We want to build. Together. He stood up and looked at each representative in turn. Earth was never your enemy. Fear was your enemy. Fear of change, fear of progress, fear of losing control. Thompson pulled up more displays, showing Earth's scientific and cultural achievements. Look at what humanity has created over our history. Art, music, science, philosophy. Yes, we've had wars. Yes, We've made mistakes, but we've always learned from them, grown from them. And now, Reed added, we're offering you the chance to grow with us. The representatives began talking among themselves. Many were nodding. Some were already sending messages back to their worlds, explaining the new proposal. Vor watched silently as his former allies switched sides one by one. Finally, he spoke again. You could have destroyed us. Why didn't you? Walker walked over to the window, looking out at Jupiter's swirling storms. Because destruction is easy. Building something new, something better, that's the real challenge. He turned back to the group. Earth doesn't want revenge. We want a future. A future where no species has to fear being caged. Where progress isn't seen as a threat, but as an opportunity. The blue-skinned representative stood up. I speak for my world. We accept your proposal. One by one, other representatives stood, adding their support. Even Vor, after a long moment, nodded his agreement. Walker looked at Captain Reed and Director Thompson, sharing a small smile. They had done it. Not through force, not through fear, but through wisdom and restraint. The galaxy was about to change. The age of containment was over. The age of cooperation was about to begin. And it had all started because someone had tried to put humanity in a cage. 1 year after the Jupiter Accords, Earth had changed. Not just Earth, the entire galaxy had changed. Admiral Walker stood at the window of the new Galactic Cooperation Center, built in orbit around Earth's moon. Below him, ships from 100 different worlds moved through space, carrying diplomats, scientists, and traders. The latest reports are in, sir, Captain Reed said, walking up beside him. She looked different now, more confident, wearing the new uniform of the Galactic Peace Force. How many worlds have joined? Walker asked, though he already knew the answer. He liked hearing it. 237 as of this morning. More are applying every day. Reed smiled. Turns out there were a lot of developing civilizations out there, just waiting for a chance to grow. Walker nodded, watching as a massive ship from one of the formerly contained worlds docked at the station. Its hull gleamed with a combination of their traditional designs and Earth's new technology. Director Thompson joined them, carrying her ever-present tablet. The knowledge exchange program is exceeding all expectations. The mixing of different technologies, different ways of thinking. We've made more progress in 1 year than the old council made in a century. And Vor? Walker asked. Working with the science team on his homeworld. Thompson replied. He's actually quite brilliant when he's not trying to control everyone. Their latest research on quantum mechanics is revolutionary. Walker turned from the window as more people entered the room. Representatives from dozens of worlds were gathering for the first anniversary celebration of the new Galactic Alliance. Admiral, a young alien diplomat called out. Her blue scales shimmered as she approached. My world's first faster-than-light ship launches next week, thanks to the shared technology program. We'd be honored if you would attend. Of course, Walker smiled. Though you should really invite Director Thompson. She's the one who helped adapt the drive system for your world's gravity. Around the room, similar conversations were happening. Species that had once been enemies now worked together, sharing knowledge, solving problems, building a better future. Captain Reed checked her tablet. Sir, it's time for your speech. Walker nodded and walked to the podium. The room fell quiet as he began to speak. 1 year ago, we faced a choice. We could have used our advantage to become the new rulers of the galaxy. We could have taken revenge for our containment. Instead, we chose a different path. He gestured to the window, where Earth hung beautiful and blue in space. Look at what we've achieved together. The old council feared progress. They saw advancement as a threat, but we proved that progress without wisdom is just as dangerous as wisdom without progress. The audience nodded. Many of them had lived under the old council's restrictions for centuries. Today, we announced the completion of the first joint species colony ship, built by 20 different worlds, combining technologies that had been kept separate for generations. Next month, it will carry settlers from a dozen species to establish our first truly mixed civilization. Applause filled the room. Walker waited for it to quiet before continuing. But our greatest achievement isn't technological. It's understanding. Understanding that strength doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from working together, growing together. He looked around the room, meeting the eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, of each species' representatives. 1 year ago, Earth was contained, trapped behind a blockade. Today, we're all free. Free to grow, free to learn, free to reach for the stars together. The celebration lasted well into the night. Species that had once been forbidden to even communicate now shared stories, songs, and dreams of the future. Later, Walker stood alone at the window again. Captain Reed found him there. "Thinking deep thoughts, sir?" she asked. "Remembering," he replied. "Remembering how this all started. They tried to put us in a cage." Reed nodded. "And instead, we showed them how to break free of their own cages." Walker watched as another ship arrived, carrying new members to join the Alliance. That's the thing about humanity that the old council never understood. Put us in a cage, and we won't just break out. We'll break all the cages, Reed finished, and build something better in their place. The Earth turned slowly below them, no longer a prison, but a beacon of hope for a galaxy learning to be free.